order of legislative at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, August 19th, 2024. Commissioner Teacher, would you mind praying?
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for the blessing we get to come together, Lord, and hopefully do your will, Lord. I pray that you'll please just allow us to represent the folks really well, Lord, and just allow us to be servants in every way except for one. And I pray that we're leaders in keeping away any spirits of division, Lord. Make my tongue good, make me speak in the right way of the people, Lord, and just to love every single person in the room, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. All right, Commissioner Schoaf told me he would not be able to make it tonight, so do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I would like to add one thing to maybe a J under new business, a public building authority.
Discussion? All right.
That was just discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. And a recommendation for an ad hoc committee.
All right, any other changes? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
You can still vote on the form, Mr. Chair.
Recognition of the public. First up, I guess, Robert? All right, you got 5 minutes. Can we come up and state your name and address for the record, and also what your subject is about?
I'm Robert Edens. Address is 141 West Roberts Road. I'm here for the Lewis Head Pub Amendment Number 2. I think it's 1A, correct?
11A.
Is it 1A or 1A?
It's 11A.
11, that's fine, yeah. Lewis Head.
It's number 2, correct? Being lot number 131?
Yes,
131.
yes.
That's the
Amendment
lot.
number 2.
Yeah, it's directly adjacent to the dollar store. They're asking to go ahead and put in storage units, mini storage units there. And as they put up on the demonstration that they showed us on the overhead in our planning and zoning meeting, the contour lines of that lot shows a crest in the middle of the lot. We have been fighting this whole area for not only 131, but 135 and 137 at the time, which you'll see next month, because they both come again in next month. These lots are draining back towards the residential areas of this neighborhood. This neighborhood has a big flooding issue that goes on, and there's been members of the Planning and Zoning Commission that came out and taken extra pictures. I have submitted some of the photos for you, and including the photos of May 8th, where we had the big flood, and it almost took out my driveway and then my neighbor's driveway, and it went all the way down in the others. There is 4 houses beyond my house. Those people are either on spring water or well water. There is no city water out there, so everything that drains off this goes directly into their lots for their drinking water. And in both of the meetings that we've had prior to, they've not come up with any good way to contain this or keep that water from being contaminated. And that's what I wanted to be addressed and understood as we move forward. Really, that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your service.
All right, next up, Brad Rowell.
Good evening. I'm Brad Rowell. I live at 152 West Roberts Road. Lived there for 9 years. I serve for Sumner County government, the deputy sheriff here in Sumner County. I also serve as your fire arson investigator for this county. I've watched traffic up and down that road for 9 years since I've lived there. It's increased exponentially since the Dollar General was put in. We didn't want it, but it's there. Now this is going in, or possibly want to put it there, which is going to make travel on the road even worse. More people up and down that road every day. You know, I'm out in my front yard a lot watching cars coming through that I've never seen on that road before. I understand people travel, people change vehicles, things like that. But people live there. That road is designed for people to live there, not to a thoroughfare for people to go into businesses. So that's what I want to talk about. I'm strongly against it. It's up to y'all to decide what you're gonna do as far as putting another business on that road. It's not really designed for business. It's designed for people to live. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Chris Griffin. You have 5 minutes to state your name and address.
All right, I'm Chris Griffin, 3301 New Hope Road. I've lived in Sumner County for 48 years. 30 years I've gone by bull. I answer to everything. The city, or the county, has grown so much since we started. And we used to have constables in the county to help, along with the sheriff's department, which is already overworked, serving warrants, issuing, not citations. They don't do that. They just help serve the whole county, basically. And when they come in to help. It is a completely unpaid job. The county doesn't have to put any money into it to free up some of the duties that the sheriff's department does. I know in some of the counties that they do serve in Tennessee, they are able to, go in and beyond serving warrants, like serving papers, doing all the stuff that ties up our deputies, that they could be out doing other things. And that's another patrol on the road that we're not putting gas in their car. We're not paying for the thing. The constables accept their responsibility. They take insurance. They're responsible for on themselves. And then also, back when we did have constables, there wasn't any training. Basically, you won the election, you got a badge and a gun, and they sent you out. It's no longer like that. Now, I brought 2 members of the Constable Association, Steve Mangrum, Frank Guzman, and Frank is from Wilson County, so just right up the road. And, they can answer any questions that y'all have about the training that they have. But basically, we are on par, or the constables, not we, I'm not kidding. But when the constables now, they have to go through the same amount of training that the reserve officers have. So they're still getting out there. Plus, they have annual training. And everything is not paid out of the county. That's the big thing, where we're providing cars, guns, uniforms, their training and everything else. The constable's responsible for all of it. So I hope y'all have some questions from them, because obviously they can give more. But I mean, my grandfather was a constable, and I want to see it brought back, because I'm an old man, but I want to give back to this county. This county's been really good to me. I'm a business owner in it, a booster. I played sports here. I've come up through everything. I've seen it when Gallatin was 3 red lights, and so I've seen the growth. And I really think this would be good for the county. And I know there's a bad taste in their mouth because of what happened with the constable years ago, but that's not the same people. It's not the same. It's not the same amount of lack of respect for the job that it was sown in. Now you definitely have to work for it if you want it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, next up, Eileen James.
Hi, first of all, sorry for I'm just getting over bronchitis 2 weeks ago, still on my voice back. Eileen James, live at 186 West Roberts Road in Portland. First, I'd like to say that I find it rather silly that Mr. Head has bought this piece of land, has already gotten approved for 1 building, 1 business, and we've already, in commercial, we've already had to be back here 2, 3, 4 times. He wanted to add 3 businesses and 3 buildings. Now he wants to add mini storages. I don't understand what he wants. He's got approved for 1 building, 1 business. That should be the end of it. I don't know. I would think, but maybe is there not like a limit on how many times you can change your mind on what you're gonna build there? You were approved for 1 thing, go build that. We didn't want that, but it got passed. I lived on that road 11 years now. It is a small road, it is a country road. You could barely fit 2 cars. If you pass someone, you're going 10 miles an hour on the shoulder. We don't need more traffic on that road. Dollar General store has brought enough traffic. From what I understand, Mr. Head owns property on the other side, sitting right on 109. Why can't he build over there? If he wants mini storages built on 109. But this has already been approved for 1 commercial business, 1 building, and that's it. And I think that's the way it needs to stay. Obviously, we're gonna keep coming back to these meetings, but it's taken up a lot of y'all's time to discuss this over and over again every time he wants to change something. I think it's ridiculous. There ought to be so many times that you gotta quit. But we don't need the extra traffic. We don't need the people speeding up and down our roads. We've got kids that live on that road. It's the country. There's animals that run around. I mean, someone's gonna get hurt. And like the other gentleman said, there's a lot of new cars I've seen on that road that I've never seen before. And that intersection is dangerous enough with just the Dollar General store. We don't need more traffic with a bunch of mini storages there.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes our other comments. Report of the chairman, I have none. Report of the county mayor.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, old business, discussion on, we're a year out, this has been on our agenda about the Hendersonville Library and the dual ownership and the trying to get stuff done in a timely manner. Mr. Law Director, I think that this is in your court as far as like what the last response is from Hendersonville on this and what our options are moving forward.
Yeah, I've communicated with the city attorney for Hendersonville, and we're basically at a stalemate. They don't want to acquiesce to deeding the property over for us to take over the maintenance, and really have not provided any kind of alternative solution. So we're at an impasse. So it's going to be the commission's decision as to which direction they want to go. We've got certain bills that have been paid over the past year, which we've been sitting on. I'd have to get with the finance director for the total amount on that, but we were sitting on those pending the outcome of this, and I don't see anything coming. So it's going to be a commission decision on how you all would like to proceed as far as trying to get the money, trying to figure out some way to get this property either deeded to them, could possibly require some sort of court action to have somebody interpret the roles of the parties involved in this 50-50 ownership to enumerate exactly who's going to do what. So those are the directions we're looking at, absent any kind of negotiation with the city.
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll get a key, Commissioner Klein.
This is a bad marriage, and there must be a legal remedy. We've discussed this, and from my understanding, at least in the committees that I sit on, there is the willingness for us to walk from the building and walk from the responsibilities. And I think because they're not budging, they apparently want the library. If we do a quitclaim deed to the property and any responsibilities, that's $1 million a year that we won't spend. I would think that it would be prudent for us to move in that direction unless there's a major reason that we want to still be 50% partner on that property and shoulder the vast majority of the financial responsibilities. I mean, we have an agreement with them to pay for maintenance issues. They don't want to do that. So they want to own half the building, and they want us to foot the rest of the bill, and I just don't see that's in the county's best interest, since the vast majority of people who support that library are city people. I know there are county people as well that go to that library, but yeah, I think that's a discussion worth having and researching.
I'll say that even though the budget is close to $1 million for that library, and the salary portion would not be covered by Hendersonville, the same as in Portland. We don't own the Portland library. Portland owns their own library. We do own Gallatin, we own Millersville, and we own Westmoreland, and part owned Hendersonville. So part of that cost wouldn't be, you're not shedding that cost, because we still would maintain and fund the salaries, employees, and staffing for the libraries and all the salaries like we do in Portland Library. I don't know what the percentage of maintenance, what that would actually look like without sharing that what those real numbers would be. It's been an interesting dichotomy of conversations of just, I know the county mayor asked that we put this on the agenda last August, and we put it on in September. It's like, okay, here's a problem. I mean, we're still trying to solve that problem if it is just like, we just want stuff to not break the library and not get fixed and go months and months or years. And then the geothermal, the air conditioning was broken for over 2 years. That's what I was told, basically, and just limping along in that main meeting room. Nobody's fixing it because everybody's doing this, and they just kick the can down the road. And here we are, unfortunately, a year later, and the can's being kicked still. I went before the finance committee with the law director back in January, I believe, and said, hey, we just want to solve this problem so the patrons don't have it. And so the original goal was just to reword the resolution of the joint ownership to not be as badly worded, because it left ambiguity there for stuff like that to happen. And I think the point of contention again came in the fact that something breaks. If you have joint ownership, it's up to both parties to replace it as owners. I think Hendersonville was contesting that, saying that wasn't their running, and that's where we kind of started running into this he said, she said thing, and that's kind of where that came from. Just a little background. I'm fine if we want to quit claim deed it over to them. I don't know if they'd want to accept it. Unfortunately, it's just looking like it's the same old status quo is what's going to keep happening, and I don't know what. We've tried unsuccessfully for a year to just, why is this a problem? I mean, give it to us, we give it to you, or just rework it so there's no question on who fixes what, so nobody's blaming other people and nothing gets fixed for months. And that's what's been happening. So
I wasn't aware that we paid the staff regardless, so that we pay all the Portland staff. That's got to be the vast majority of the costs.
I'd imagine it's a large portion of it, but it comes down to patrons are not being served well at that library in the past and historically, because things have been broken and the county and the city have not fixed it because they have done this. So we're just trying to say, hey, let's stop doing this and let's move forward on a positive path, and we still can't do that. And I don't know why this is so difficult. It's beyond my comprehension, but Commissioner Dickman.
I'm just curious, I mean, has anyone heard from citizens what they're interested in it? Do they want the county to own it? Do they want the city to own it? Do they want?
I've not necessarily heard one thing or the other. I mean, I've heard
I'll interject. I live in the city, and lots of people who use the city library wish that the city would purchase the library. I'm very familiar with one of the aldermen, and he does not
I've heard of him.
say that they do not want full ownership of the library. I did call.
They do not.
The city, the BOMA, the mayor, and the alderman I know best, who is on finance, does not desire the full financial responsibility of the library. So we could send a quit claim deed to them. I don't know if they would take it. That's not been discussed. And I know we have maintenance of effort on the library hours, and we have maintenance of effort on the salary, the budget. And I did ask Cecilia Maynor, in the event that the city were to opt to take the library, if we were to give, because my feeling is, right now as a county commissioner, I would sign that deed. I would give it to the city. I would give it to them. Everything, the books, the staff, everything to the city. I don't have a problem with that. And I asked her, but due to the maintenance of effort on hours, due to the maintenance of effort on salaries, how could that be worked so that we could offer to give the library to the city and offer to pay their maintenance of effort for a few years on the salaries, etc. And I know financially this doesn't seem to make sense, but if you're at loggerheads, then somebody has to come up with something. And she didn't really respond to me. She asked if I would send her a written email about it, and I had not gotten around to doing that, because it doesn't sound like, it seems like we could work something out with them where we would pay them what we've been paying them for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and then it would just be theirs. It would all be theirs. We'd just give it all to them and just pay them the $930,000 a year it costs to operate the library. I know it sounds awful. It's the stupidest thing coming out of my mouth to give them $1 million a year for 5 years. But then it's the cities. They can have their own library board. Their library board will look like them, look like their city, look like their residents. I just know a lot of people in the city would love for the library just to be their own library. So it's not for me not having that.
So can we ask the mayor if he's heard anything from them at all? Because he was the original ask of trying to make this work. I just didn't know if there's.
County Mayor, do you have any updates?
No, I do. I will tell you, we have a major problem with irrigation. It's gonna cost a lot of money that we're working on right now.
So that's planting,
So,
Yes, I got a couple more questions. So like, our options are not, there's no option if there's not a way to work with them, right? So I don't understand, what's the reason for no one wanting to work? Does anyone know what that, I'm not being mean, I'm just saying.
There's just
what's
an
the-
argument over the wording of the resolution about the maintenance. And I've talked to the mayor, and I've talked to Lance Ray, and I've talked to a couple of commissioners, aldermen, and they're happy to do the reverter clause. He said that we'll just accept it with the reverter clause, then all this goes away, but we have to accept all the maintenance, 100% of the maintenance.
So,
And then if it quits being a library, 50% of the property belongs to the city. And another issue, yes, I'll add to this, is that the mayor has asked several times that library be open on Fridays. And that has not been given to him. And it's a level 5 library, and state standards say it should be open at least 60 hours a week. And it's only open 40. So the thing is, it's not just the county, it's not just the city, it's the library not doing the extra hours, etc.
to answer your question, the problem we're trying to solve is maintenance. Because what we're controlling here is the county. We're not talking about library board, we're not talking about salaries, we're talking about physical location of this property and things that break. And that's the whole objective of like how to maintain this. And the way the law director's interpretation is that when you have joint ownership of something, you have joint responsibility to fix it, and especially when it breaks. And so that kind of makes sense. I mean, that's just a logical and reasonable interpretation of law, in my opinion. So I would agree with that. And so, but that has not been happened necessarily. And I know that Jamie Clary did say that he was something, I can't remember, the elevator or was another repair that we're going to pay it this time, but we want to get reimbursed for the full thing. You know, of thinking that needed to be reimbursed for us fixing the library and known as joint ownership. So I guess my recommendation at this point probably would be go back to what the original goal was, is maybe we recraft this resolution and give it back to them of like, if we're gonna have a joint, let's clean up the language. I mean, I can't remember where we left off on that. Hold on a second. I can't remember where we left off on that, Mr. Law Director. If we actually did that back a year ago, as far as looking at that original resolution that was poorly written in 2015, when it was agreed upon for that joint ownership of what would that cleaned up language look like to read, just say, hey, if we're gonna have joint ownership, we just need to have a clear delineation on what this means. I mean, I can't remember.
That's what started all of this.
I know it is, but do we ever
So-
present that to them?
Yes, I believe we were trying to create some sort of workable arrangement, and it's spiraled into this. But the feedback we were getting, like at the January meeting, was that they're not gonna pay anything. Was pretty much what I interpreted, that was our responsibility to pay for these costs for necessary repairs that were in the large dollar amount, such as the elevators, and even understanding who was responsible for what part of what was going on out there. I believe there was a backflow preventer issue that had to be addressed. There might have been some flooding out there or something like that. And
There were-
I-
The fire suppression
Hold on,
system.
Shannon, we're out of order. It's gonna keep real quick.
So, and then to the mayor's point, there's future needs that need to be addressed, and with the way things stand now, the perception is that the county's gonna pay the money, and the city will enjoy the library. And that's what we're trying to get around. Just make it like the deed, 50-50. If this was just the deed we were talking about, that we'd get a quiet title claim, and it would be enumerated by the courts what exactly the roles would be and the portions and who's responsible for what percentage of whatever the maintenance and repairs are. So that would be another option, but we're talking about litigation.
Commissioner Boyle.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was the irrigation system, the fire suppression, the sprinklers that quit working.
There was a backflow valve on the outside, I believe, or something. It was leaking outside as well, like flooding.
But it caused it to not, yes,
Correct, it was that
not
backflow valve,
function.
so. Commissioner Buchanan.
So, if it, I want to make sure that there's not a chance of us being the silly ones in the situation. I'm trying to make sure that whatever it is, but either way, I don't know. It sounds like it's that, but not placing blame, just figuring it out. If it's a marriage, which it is, then they're going to need to have some sort of representation, and we're going to need to have some sort of representation for the county citizens to be equal. Is there a way to have, I know, but is there a way to have either our mayor's meeting or an ad hoc or something, like, I'm just saying.
We've already done that, Jamie.
I know, it just seems like
And it
there's
failed.
gotta be something that
It failed.
moves forward. It just, I don't know how it could be in an impasse forever. It's like, I don't care whose it is, if people want the library to function.
Commissioner Roberts.
Make a motion to give it back to the city of Hendersonville. And rid our hands of it.
Second. Commissioner Klein.
So that would mean we will continue to be responsible for the labor. And would that also mean we're responsible for the maintenance?
I think it would, if I may, this
Moderate.
motion should be geared more to me coming back to you with what that is going to entail. Because we're in some weird area here, because you can't force a quit claim on somebody.
No.
So if we do a quit claim and try to walk away from it, it might not be valid. I say all that to say this, we're gonna end up in front of a judge,
Do you mind,
whatever we do.
So I guess we need to go back to square one, instruct the law director to go to Hendersonville and say, hey, how can we make this palatable for your city to take your building back? Which is where we've already been, right?
Right, no, I'm just saying have me get some better answers for you on what the process of trying to give the property back to them, because it may be trying to forcibly give the property back. That's all I'm saying. We've done everything else up to
So
this
that would be
point.
my motion then, for him to go to the Hendersonville city and say, what do we need to do for you to take this land back?
I was comfortable hearing you say.
No,
you
I'm
should
just,
research this
I'm gonna
first.
research the legal ramifications of us doing this. Because I
But if
want
we-
you
if we-
to go into this with open eyes as we try to force the transfer.
So what have we been doing? I'm confused.
We've been doing all the negotiating you're talking about, which has led to the stalemate, which has put us right here where we're at today.
So now you're saying go back and research before we
Just-
come and say
I-
Hendersonville, here, you take your baby.
Yes,
That's all.
how to properly divest ourselves of this property.
So we're getting our ducks in a row for
Yes,
country voice
exactly.
language. That's fine.
Exactly.
That'd be my motion.
Now, in my second that. Commissioner Hyde.
I want to ask a question as a commissioner, and my district is entirely within the city of Hendersonville. What would happen if we said to Hendersonville, we are planning to offer you a quitclaim deed, and just let them go from there? If we say, this is what we want to offer you, would it take action from the board to accept it, or could they just not take action, or how could we get it before the board?
The BOMA Yeah, it would have to go through commission, and it would have to go through however they run things through Belmont.
So we could go to them
'Cause it's a
and
transfer
say,
of
"We want-
property."
We want to give you the library.
Yes. And I don't mind, as part of this research, reaching back out to the city attorney and telling them, this is where we're headed.
And that was Daryl's, part of his main original motion, so just to clarify.
Okay, I thought we were talking about reinitiating this whole resolution and.
He's talking about
Okay.
approaching Hendersonville?
Yes,
with a
I,
quitclaim.
that will be a
Yeah,
part of my process, cause I do not wanna end up in court on another case.
They know us by name, so, sorry.
Commissioner Teacher, you're next. Are you done, Chairman? Hi. Were you done, Commissioner Teacher?
So, here's my thoughts, and I like where it was going with that. I mean, ultimately, the city citizens are still county citizens, so I mean, like, to Mr. Hyde's point, I just think if we could speed it up, and I don't want to go to some kind of a legal ramification, I'd like it to be something that's a win-win for the citizens. It just seems silly to get there. I know it may get there, but like, maybe if just what he said, if we just said, hey, we're planning on offering this, and maybe they say, well, that doesn't work for us because of this, and they counter it.
That was
But it's what you said, right? And so I'm agreeing with that. I think the original motion, I like it, because instead of getting our ducks in a row to just push it down their throat, I mean, if we just say, look, we're willing to do whatever, let's get this thing fixed. I mean, because it's not fixed, right? It's broken. And I think that ultimately it's not about who wins or loses, it's just about, let's just get it fixed, figure out what it is, because it is ultimately.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Here's what you need to understand. That it ultimately comes down to,
I have one more question.
it's just what's right and wrong in this sense. So do we want to just continue to accept full responsibility for the maintenance and fixing everything ourselves, which we can, and just be done with this? That's an option. Even though they should be paying it, but they're not. They are contesting that they shouldn't have to pay it. And that's what's kind of called it. And that is why, this wasn't something willy-nilly. This has started because you had an air conditioner that was broken for at least 2 years.
I understand.
And they were saying this is school board responsibility to fix it, which is ridiculous. So it's like you got all these, and it's like, where is this coming from? Let's just fix the problem. Like, why is this a problem? Why is this taking so long? Why is this so painful? This is why we're finding out it's so painful. So, and then it evolved into the elevators were down for a while, and they weren't, ADA compliant. I mean, they should have been shut down, but I mean, and they weren't getting fixed for a month or two. And then it comes into this backflow issue. So it's like, but the problem is Hendersonville's saying we don't owe the county money, and we're not going to pay you money. That's what you need to understand. They're not going to negotiate on that.
I understand that. I'm just
So-
saying that it's still the citizens are losing. And I have one more question before we move on. And I don't want to get out of the queue while I'm still talking. So you can finish, but I want to make sure I want to ask this other question.
Go ahead.
I was just asking, is there anyone at the city level that you have not been able to, that will not take your phone call and will not discuss with you? Either the attorney or the mayor or whomever it could be. Like, who is the holdup?
I just deal with the city attorney. I don't get beyond the politics of what's going on in Hendersonville. So my and I've got a good working relationship with Mr. Ray, so.
Okay, so I don't know, I think we're still back to that, but I think at some point, even in a bad marriage, you got to find a way to figure it out. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want to spend.
Well, right now, we're fixing the problem. We're still paying for it. We're doing it. They should be doing it, so, Commissioner Bergdorf?
To your motion to research giving the library to the city, will that be similar to how Portland's is? Portland owns from the grass to the walls, and the county owns the insides. Is that how you want it to be?
They can have all of them.
Yay, good. Okay.
I
just want, I didn't, so you want them to have the staff?
And the carpet and the light bulbs.
And the
Portland owns the
staff.
entire building, but they're not the staff. The staff is.
Portland owns everything on the outside, the county, everything on the inside is the county's.
I'm talking about the books. The county furnishes the books.
The
county-
property, the staff, I think it needs, for whoever's watching.
I've never read that. I mean, the building, Portland owns the entire building, inside and outside.
We just do
But the
maintenance.
county runs
Yeah, the county staffs it, the
Right,
county
and
puts books
that's,
in it.
so to be clear, is that what you want, or you want to give
No,
the
they
staff
give
and
all.
everything to Hendersonville? Or the
Yeah.
100% of the
Everything.
responsibility?
Yep.
That's what I wanted to
That
be
way they
clear
can,
about.
that way they can have control of the hours they wanna operate. We don't get into a landlord-tenant act like we've talked about 6 months ago. They can have it.
And that's also where it gets messy because of the maintenance of effort on the hours and the,
Right.
that.
And
but
they'll just have to figure that out in their budget.
Yes. Well, I don't know how that works though.
I don't either.
With the state because of the
Law director.
libraries.
I just want to be clear, when we initiated this, we always initiated with the understanding that we were going to continue the staffing of the library. That was never a question. This was about physical maintenance and repairs. So I don't want this.
I'm gonna withdraw my second on that one, just because it's beyond the scope of what we've worked on the past year, so.
I just want to be clear, well, I know what I'm operating on here.
That's what I was wanting to be clear about.
Commissioner, Rogers?
Well, so I don't have a second, I don't have a motion, but I'm fixing to make one. So I guess I direct the law director to track the idea and the knowledge and the prongs associated with the Hendersonville Library operating the same as all other libraries in the county. Now, question, would that not mean that they would own the building, we would fund the staff and all of that stuff, just like we do Portland, Westmoreland, and Millersville?
Yes.
That's my motion.
Second.
Whew, call for the question.
So that,
Make a motion.
Yeah, you can, yeah. You gotta order. Commissioner.
so that puts it back, I think I just heard that, I wanna make sure it's correct. That puts it back in standing of every other library, basically?
Well, like the Portland Library.
Yeah.
His motion was basically to research the giving over the full maintenance and ownership of the facility itself to the city of Hendersonville, just like Portland. And the county, it's not about the county staffing it or putting books in it. It's totally different. It's just Hendersonville maintains it, they pay for it, the county just supplies the staff.
So I have one more question before I vote on that. Is how much money are we paying on average? One thing I should have known this, I didn't know this answer. How much money are we paying to repair, for the repairs that they're, like if we're paying everything, just say that we're just like, oh my goodness, we're paying it all. How much are we paying?
I don't know, I mean,
On average.
the AC being broken and fixed, I don't know what the cost of that was. I
I don't
know
have the dollar amount with
the
it.
elevators being fixed and
I'm
things like
gonna
that.
interject, it's still not that easy because when we had the rain in May, Portland Library flooded, our maintenance went and repaired that library. So you will have to.
I just, yeah.
It's crazy.
Commissioner Hunt?
When I made a motion that started us down this road, it had to do with one thing that we're not mentioning, the reverter clause.
Correct.
That's what bothered me. If we are doing all of the financing of maintenance and personnel and everything, then I resent, whether it's Hendersonville, Gallatin, whoever, I resent them saying, well, we still get half the property if this ceases to be a library. It's not going to cease to be a library. But that reverter clause does not need to be in there. That's, to me, that's a slap in the face that we're going to be paying all of these expenses. So that's the holdup. The reverter clause is the holdup. They have no right to claim a half ownership of the building, and we're paying everything to maintain it and operate it. So the reverter clause is what we really need to get at.
And your point, when you mentioned that previously a month or so ago, was the fact that should the county decide to build a different library, a newer, bigger one, a better one, that still reverts, even if you, so it's not a well thought out clause. I mean, it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction.
The reverter clause is the problem.
And Mr. Law Director, didn't you say that
That's where it all stopped.
they're just not
When I
interested?
told them the holdup was the reverter, and that's where I was told I was gonna get any back and forth, that
Did
they
you-
wanted the reverter.
Did you explain to them kind of
Oh, yes.
Chairman Hyde's position on that, or thoughts, like,
Yes.
And they just, that didn't move them in their thought?
I didn't get any rebuttal or counter offer or anything beyond that.
Well, if we say to them, a quitclaim deed is coming because of this reverter clause, now do you want the operation of this full library, or do you want the reverter clause? And I think that we ought to make that cover with what, with what Mr. Rogers has suggested. But I just didn't want us to forget that was the original problem, the reverter.
We were willing to take it all on, that was
Yes,
sweet, but
one or the other.
just to make sure, so we can just stop this and
Yes.
just fix it, move on, just take care of business for the citizens. Any other questions? Commissioner Jones?
I have a suggestion, just based on what Commissioner Hyde just said. The reverter clause being the issue, could you do what he just said? I don't know the quick claim deed's coming, but because of the reverter clause, but then also satisfy them with the reverter clause by saying after X amount of money is spent towards the maintenance of this, that reverter clause goes away. It seems like that's there because the trust, there's a trust issue with them wondering if we're gonna close it, they're gonna lose an investment. But after they see that we've invested a certain amount of money, like he was saying, at a certain point, that reverter clause goes away. Meet in the middle on that, let them know that they've got some security there, up until the point where we've spent so much money that that's null and void. Maybe 2 or 3 years or X amount of dollars spent in maintenance.
Mr. Rogers?
Is my original motion not direct the law director to find out what's needed to make it the same as all other libraries across the county?
Well, like Portland, I guess, technically.
Yeah, okay, I was just making sure.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Gallatin is owned by the county?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I know.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
New business, veteran service report, Mr. Oakley. You're up.
Good afternoon. Page 13, you see information. I kind of want to call attention, this is the last couple of paragraphs. A lot of times I come in and talk about a big back pay we got for a veteran, but last month we had 3 different veterans that came in that had been victims of sexual assault in the military. And they came in, one of them came in mainly just to find a mentor, which she found in our office. And she's doing way better than she had been in the past. But she just keeps coming back and checking in with our veteran service officer just because she's been finding support. So, I mean, for us, it's not always about the money. It's about kind of how we treat our veterans with dignity and respect. On the outreach thing, I'm going to not continue this anymore, Dr. Teacher, but I want to thank you for a suggestion about working with churches. We've got 4 veterans in last month through an outreach program at the church. The VA just put out a press release late last week that we are on for our PACT Act outreach on September 12th. It's going to be at Our Lady Lake Church from I think it's about 1 to 6 p.m. on September 12th. So that's going to be the VA Healthcare. They're going to have the executive director of the VA regional office coming down to talk about veterans benefits and veteran services in general. And then we're going to have some state and local folks there as well. So kind of excited about that and looking forward to that next month. Also, Monday, there was a lot that was said at the commission meeting that I was a little taken aback by. I started doing some research with the clerk on Tuesday about the wheel tax. And there were a couple of specific facts, a couple of assertions. I wasn't able to in my research, I wasn't able to support all the facts that were mentioned either in the news story or in public. And I did find that the clerk had changed the procedures by the end of May. In our May report to the commission, we kind of highlighted a 93-year-old veteran who'd come in. He got his letter on like the 25th saying that he was now permanently and totally disabled. We brought him over to the clerk and she refunded what he paid on the 24th. So I mean, they've been kind of bending over backwards to kind of get the refunds out to the veterans. I was a little taken aback, and my personal experience in working with the veterans in the county has not been, it was not reflective of what I think was reported to the commission, so I just want to give you that feedback.
And just some numbers, in the last week since that story ran, we've gotten about 6 to 8 inquiries combined between the clerk and the Veterans Office, and they've already refunded 4 veterans additionally their wheel tax. So in some respect, I'm kind of happy that we got some additional attention on something that was a misinterpretation, not an error, really, in my opinion. But the scope and scale is significantly different. And just by comparison, the allegation was that we had shorted veterans in the county by $600,000 over the last decade. I mean, when you compare that to the $90 million just in compensation and pension and cost avoidance that the Veterans Office plus the clerk were able to get back to our veterans in Sumner County just last year, I think that kind of puts in perspective that we don't necessarily have a problem.
My understanding of it, is it fair to say that it was more just thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars, as far as like wheel tax?
I mean, probably not even $10,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hyde.
I just want to tell you that I eat breakfast every Thursday with a large group of men. Most of them are veterans, and they are hugely supportive and are fans of our veterans director. They think he's done a super job, and everybody needs to hear that when they are doing a good job.
I appreciate it. And honestly, I haven't had the chance to meet with this particular veteran, so I'm kind of going to try to reach out and just touch base and see if there's something we can do. But you know, in terms of an apology or any other kind of action like that, I'm not sure it's going to be warranted. And I would like to meet with him before anything like that happens.
Okay.
So he seems like a good guy with a good heart. Like, heart's in the right place. Maybe we got a little head in the message.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up, item B is a report from a Parks and Recreation Board ad hoc, which I was not here last month, so I'm not familiar with what this is about, so I don't have anything to report. Commissioner Klein, if you can entertain that.
Yeah, last month, we formed an ad hoc, Jamie Teachner, Merrill Hyde, and myself, and I think we got bogged down by the budget, is pretty much, so we haven't even begun yet.
Okay, so there's nothing to report. Mr. Law Director, I guess we'll go to item C. I mean, is there anything for your report there either, or is it pretty much the same? It's just your report of the Parks and Recreation Board. Yes, it did make up. I'd done some research on this. I saw the minutes like from the September, October, and November of 2020. My understanding is, I think I said it a couple months ago that I'd make a motion to rescind or repeal the Parks and Recreation Board and eliminate it. I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote for the committee. I didn't vote for the grant or the park for greenway reasons. I'm still opposed to it. I understand the Brown Park, the money was given $500,000 to restore that house and create a little mini park around it. That's all that Will and Trust is about, and I think we're still trying to wait for that money so the county can start fixing that house. Obviously, we've shown interest in protecting properties of historic and cultural significance in Cottontown, trying to preserve things that got torn down that we would have preferred that didn't get torn down. So I think we've shown a good faith in trying to restore historic buildings. So it unfortunately sounds like it's a pretty convoluted issue of the Brown Park, the trust, the Brown house, as well as this Parks and Rec Board. And I never found a resolution where the Parks and Rec Board was actually ever created by resolution, so it's like, it seems invalid to me to begin with.
That was going to be my report. I see where members in the minutes were appointed, but I cannot find a resolution creating this board.
Well, my question would be, if a board was never officially created, is there anything to either even dissolve, or is it just dissolve automatically, or is there action need to be taken because it doesn't exist by resolution?
My opinion is it doesn't exist, so I don't know how all these appointments and I don't know how they would stand up. So I believe the appointments were initiated by the mayor at the time.
September 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
And then, yeah, September 21st, 2020. And that's the closest I could find to anything referencing a Parks and Rec Board. So I don't know what's governing them. I don't know what they're operating under. So I've got I've got nothing to tell you on what the scope of their work should be because the commission never ratified any kind of Parks and Rec board. So if your question to me is what happens with the memberships in the ad hoc, I don't know how something can exist when the parent organization doesn't. Is anybody else aware of a resolution? Because
No, I've researched it. Commissioner Hyde and I were the only ones on the commission at that time, so I've gone back.
I don't remember.
No, and I've looked at the minutes and agendas for like a year from 2020, 2021, and never found any resolutions. So I went through all of them in preparation for this meeting.
And I looked before 2020, but the 2020 minutes do specifically say that the people being appointed are to the new board of the Sumner County Parks and Recreation Board, parenthetically, new board. So,
The minutes of the Committee of Committees on September the 21st as well, because they met before, 30 minutes before the full commission meeting.
Correct.
They talk about that as well, and then it moved to the full commission 30 minutes later, and then the full commission, well, majority of them voted on it. I did not.
so I would leave that at the committee's
Sounds
will.
like you can just roll on off the agenda and we can keep moving.
I mean, the Parks and Rec Board doesn't exist, so I guess I would just want to make sure that, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Parks and Rec Board has met in the past year or two, which they shouldn't. There should be no meeting of a board that doesn't statutorily exist, or at least by resolution or approval by the commission.
I'm unaware of the meeting.
I'm pretty sure there was one called.
I'm not doubting you.
I think there was one called in February or March of this year. So I guess we just need to make sure that board is dissolved. Maybe I'll make a motion for you, Mr. Law Director, to look into that and come back with us, maybe on a recommendation on the best step forward of just you telling them that they're invalid, don't meet, because technically you can't meet if you don't have the approval, so there's nothing to dissolve, or if we need to come back with a resolution.
And when did you say this meeting occurred?
I'm pretty sure it occurred this year. I may be mistaken. Okay. I'm thinking February or March. I got to go back and look.
I'll pull them up.
Commissioner T.
Has anyone reached out to anybody and said, hey, do you have any documentation that you're,
There's a lot of minutes.
I know there's minutes of it, but is it, can you show us the resolution or when it was?
Yes,
voted in?
they've done that. That exists.
And
They've researched it and it doesn't exist. They've already reached out.
I know, I'm just saying, I just didn't know if there's maybe some other, I'm just trying to be due diligence.
No, the only record's going to come from the clerk's office or the law director's office for the commission. Any other questions or discussions, or Commissioner Clark?
So moving forward, the ad hoc of the three of us, we should make the assumption that there is no Parks and Recreation.
Yeah,
and there never was.
I'd make a motion for the dissolution of the ad hoc.
Second.
All right, well, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimously. So dismiss that. But I know that we still have the issue of the Brown house and the will of Mr. Brown he gave $500,000 for that house to be renovated and for a park, I guess whatever that less than an acre it sits on, that he called a park in his will to go towards the county maintaining that one building. And that is a separate issue from whatever the school board is trying to do. So the way I see this is what we're trying to do as a county is to obey the spirit and will of the law, and this will to actually, where's the funding? The school board was given that money, I guess illegally or inappropriately, because the county specifically said the money was supposed to come to the county for that. I do know that there was an MOU that's invalid that was presented by the previous county mayor and the school board director because the county commission never ratified that, and that committed the county to both a contract and a monetary fund, which the county mayor can't do that. The only county commission can do that, and the county commission never voted on that. So the MOU that was presented back at that time is invalid as well. So we're really stuck. The only thing we legally can look at is the will for Mr. Brown, that $500,000, and we passed a resolution in April of this year to the school board, hey, okay, give us the money, and we still haven't gotten it yet. So I think that's really where we're moving to on this, is how do we do this park/house on less than an acre of land, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
.8.
0.8, so a little less than an acre. What's the next ramifications on how do we get that money from the school board, because they haven't given it to us yet, for that park, so we can obey the law? It seems like they're obfuscating and keeping us from obeying the law on this.
Again, this takes us down to the legal route. We do have an issue, though, if the property is county property, the house,
Yeah.
there is a duty to maintain, so I'm not sure what's happening with the building. So,
Mr. County Mayor, do you know what's happening maintaining that building, since we're supposed to be maintaining it?
I don't know.
I do know that, I think the volunteer fire department, I think, broke into the house during the search for Sebastian, and one of them got injured in it, so I think it's not secure at this time, or there's entrance and, the ability to, get in there, I think. And so there was somebody, I think, broke their leg, in that building. And so, that's a liability issue, so, I think it needs to be secured, but I'd make a motion, from the law director to, reach out to the legal counsel of the school board and saying that, they have a legal obligation to put those funds over, and,
Isn't this in Gen Ops, the Brown House?
I don't know if it's in there right now, but I know that it's, a part of this Parks and Recreation Board resolution, but, Commissioner Klein?
Well, there's several issues with the house, obviously.
Well, is this topic in Gen Ops?
It has been.
Is it now?
I think it got
I think
moved to
that-
old business, so it may still be on there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So,
I just don't want to double dip in a committee if it's already there.
is this in committee or not? Does anybody know?
Commissioner Jones may know.
Commissioner Jones, is this in general?
It is in general operations, just as a recurring check on the progress, but it was left in the legal hands of the law director to pursue that. That's probably why it's coming back up in legislative, because now we've reached the point where they're not answering 3 times now for the request. So you guys need to press it forward to get it answered.
Commissioner Rogers?
Well, I'll second it if that's where we need to go, but legal should be able to talk to another legal department within the county.
That's
But
been
I'll-
done 3 times.
One word. But I don't have a problem making the motion if that's the way we need to go, but, so to direct the legal, or if that's your motion, I'll second.
It was my motion, so.
I'll second.
Just to, hold on, Tim, out of order. Just instruct council to move forward, because we passed this resolution in April. Legally, it's what it says. I don't understand why there's a problem, but if we're looking to fulfill the obligations of this contract and we're not able to do it because there's a holdup, I think we just need to, send a letter or say, hey, we need this to happen.
Second.
Is there any other discussion there?
I don't think so.
I have one question.
Commissioner Klein?
Mr. Sittler, do we have access to the house, or is that easement gone?
No, as far as the codicil goes, the house is supposed to be county property, and that's what's supposed to create its own park.
But it's landlocked by the greater 80 acres.
Well, I think that's jointly owned by the county and the school.
Okay, so we would have every right, because we.
Yeah, and Tennessee doesn't recognize being landlocked, so some sort of easement would have to be provided for to gain access if that were the case, but I don't think it is.
Commissioner Tischer?
So it is, there's no doubt it's county property.
Yes.
Do we have a key?
No.
Can I make a motion, we just send the sheriff's office over there, open the door, and then put new locks on it?
I don't think
All
we'd
in
be able to
favor,
do
say
that. It'd be under the purview of the county mayor.
I don't think it's.
As our custodian, so we could ask him to do it.
Just so it doesn't get dilapidated if it was left, that's all I'm saying, I
Well,
don't mean anything
it
crazy.
probably needs that front door fixed, because
Yeah.
it was kicked in.
Yeah, I just don't want critters living in it, and, whatever it is, I don't care whose it winds up being, I'm just saying, keep it.
I don't think this needs to be moved.
Yeah, so I'm gonna modify my motion, so is to have law director press forward legally, but I also want to, ask that you as Gen Ops would bring that back, or for the September agenda back on Gen Ops.
Okay.
As far as moving forward the Brown Park and that property and what can be done to just.
Stabilize.
The county mayor can do it, so just go through the property, so just secure it and let's get on with it, so that's my.
Second.
All right.
before we vote on that, I just think it's very important that we secure. I don't care whose it is. I understand. I mean, like ASAP, because we're right there on the school property. I don't want just a million things going through my mind right now, and I don't want to.
Oh, the liabilities.
It's ridiculous, and so I don't care whose property it is. Just can we make sure that it is secured, something like that, as soon as possible. Like before we, I don't want to go through 2 or 3 cycles of
Government side,
months.
we'll get to it when we can.
Yeah, it's just it's just like I don't want some kid getting taken in there and hurt. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going down all these roads of things, and so that's
Well,
just
we have a-
Commissioner Klein?
I was of the understanding that we've already tried to communicate with the lawyers, or the law office of the school district. I'd like to see if Mr. Sittler can respond to that.
I've not talked directly to them because I do not know if he represents the trust. So I'll probably have to find out, and the mayor may know if he does or doesn't.
Well, the mayor is one of the trustees, so can we ask him now?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
I don't
who's the
know.
legal?
Yeah, we don't have a legal representation.
You don't have legal representation? So where?
Well, I'll still reach out to Mr. Presnell and just feel, I'd hate him not be in the loop.
So my motion is for our legal counsel to reach out to legal counsel of the schools or for the trust or the will or whoever and move forward to this and also come back to Jen office for securing the building.
Third, second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on. Discussion on constables. A little background here, Mr. Griffin called me and emailed me. I think he also called and spoke with Commissioner Rogers about this. And I told him, warned him that the county had gotten rid of constables. There were problems, and Commissioner Hyde was on the commission then. It predates my time, so I don't know the full story. I know there were problems there, but I wanted to asked me to be able to come and present for a couple minutes. But if you guys are okay for the Constables Association to just kind of tell us what's changed, if you don't mind us suspending the rules for a minute.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, if you 2 gentlemen wouldn't mind coming up and just, I guess, explain to us just why you think, just what's changed when Sumner County shut down the constables, I think in 2010 because of legal issues and all kind of bad stuff happening, and the commission shut it down. Why would the commission bring that one back? What's the benefits there? What's changed? That Mr. Griffin talked about in his public comments.
I'm Steve Mangrum. I'm the executive director for Tennessee Constable Association statewide. I've served as a constable in Maury County for soon will be 20 years. So I was a constable back when all that transpired. A lot of laws have changed. One is the training. We have worked with getting the laws changed to up the training for constables across the state of Tennessee. One is you're required to put in a minimum of 40 hours of in-service training annually, just like any other full-time police officer. Through that training program, we have set it up through V Academy, which is what a lot of the police departments and sheriff's department are doing across the state. So, with that being said, you're getting post-certified training just like police officers do. The advantage to the county is this is a free service. You've got guys, ladies that are wanting to get out and serve their community. They provide their own patrol units, their own uniforms, their own weapons. They pay for their own training at no cost to the taxpayers of Sumner County. This is something that's free. And as the world is today, we need every police officer we can get on the streets that's willing to fight for the good folks. To the best of my knowledge, there's never been a constable that's cost the county 1 red cent across the state, to the best of my knowledge. So, don't know of any lawsuits that's been filed. We've had other counties that, that talked about doing away, but when we showed up, we presented what the training is and all that, and we've saved these constables. As the executive director, and I'm from another county, but I think it would without a doubt be an asset to the county and a benefit to the taxpayers. Look at it like this. If you live in a subdivision, some of these folks was talking about their subdivision, that constable that lives in that district may be the closest law enforcement officer if your parents' home's getting broke into and they hear the call come across the radio, they can respond and maybe be there in 2 or 3 minutes, where it may take a deputy or a police officer 15 or 20 minutes to be able to respond to answer that call. But it also frees up your full-time paid law enforcement officers if these constables are serving civil process, and that's how we get paid. We serve civil process. So if you go in and you sue somebody, the fees that you pay, that's how we as constables make our money. So that frees your full-time law enforcement up to do what they need to do. And we are steadily working to increase for a good example, last July, year ago, July, one of the laws that we pushed to get through passed, to be able to run for constable or to be able to be appointed to constable, you must pass a psychological exam, just like a full-time police officer. We're working on legislation now to get pushed through to where you're required to, I think it's 128 or 130 hours of in-service training. If you're a new constable coming in, if we were hoping to get this law pushed through this year, to where if you're new and you're coming in, you're required to complete this in-service training before you have law enforcement powers, before you can do anything as a constable. I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have that I can answer.
Thank y'all for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having us.
So, who, do you answer to the sheriff? Is that how that works? Or do you answer to the county commission? Do you answer to, who do you answer to?
Here's the deal.
Who do you answer to?
It's kind of like, we're elected just like you are as county commission. So here's the deal. If there's a complaint, our association, if you're a member of our association, we have a review committee, a review board, if there's a complaint filed on a constable. And if it's not illegal, if they haven't violated the law, then we address it ourselves. But if you call me as a county commissioner and go, hey, Steve, we've got a constable up here, and boy, he's really just doing some stupid things, and he's violating the law, he's doing all this and that, I'm gonna ask you to send me an email on that. Then as the association, we're gonna come to the attorney general and present it to him and go, hey, you need to look at this.
State level.
Yes. Just like if you've got a police officer that's out of line, the chief of police or the sheriff is gonna take it to another level and have somebody else to investigate it other than his own agency. So, sure.
In a situation like we're talking about here, what would happen is we would go see Ray Whitley. As a matter of fact, I served with Ray many years ago. I'm an old guy. Back when he was an assistant United States attorney, I was a special agent for the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration. A lot of the constables, folks that come on board, got elected, are former police officers, older folks, and we're not out there trying to be hot shots, stop speeding cars. We have the authority to do that, but that's not our role. Our role is to sit back and just more or less be a set of eyes and be helpful. I'll see an accident, I'll stop, I'll get over there and I'll put the blue lights on my car. I'll direct traffic so the deputies can do what they gotta do so they can get out of there and we can move the traffic. I have a lot of law enforcement experience and background. If the sheriff needs help, I'm available. If the chief of police needs help, I'm a Wilson County constable. I can go, see the chief, or I can go do whatever they need. We're an elected official, so we're not responsible to the sheriff. And sometimes, because we're not responsible to the sheriff, there are some sheriffs that will get over there and say, well, I can't control him. There's nothing to control because we're not over here trying to take over your folks. Now, in certain parts of the state, some of the constables are allowed by statute to have marked vehicles. I don't have a marked vehicle. I have a Lincoln, and I have blue lights on my Lincoln. But when I was a DEA agent, I had a Cadillac too, and I had red lights and blue lights on that. So I mean, it works out nice in the sense that you have somebody that if the sheriff can't do something, and it's something that you folks would like to have done, for example, the mayor could call up the constable and say, look, sheriffs don't have deputies to get over there and do A, B, C, D. Is this something you can look at? Sure. But we all have a job, so we work when we can. Sometimes we work at night, sometimes we work daytime, sometimes we ride with the deputy. So I mean, you benefit from having someone who cares about the county, someone who's willing to learn and do what needs to be done.
Mr. Hyde?
Yeah, questions and statements. When I was much younger and much dumber, and had just moved to Sumner County, I ran for constable and was elected.
Good.
No, it wasn't. But really didn't know what I was doing. I don't even know why I ran. But in any event, at that time, these are the problems I see. At that time, we could write citations. And we had a you still can?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I had a citation book and I wrote citations. But we had a the problem is constables are elected from a particular district, like I was in Hendersonville.
Right.
Oh, we had a notorious constable from Upper County who would come down to Hendersonville on the main highway here and write tickets because he didn't have to go back and be elected in his district in Upper County in rural. So he was pretty popular there, but he wrote citations down here or down in Hendersonville. And you're right, we didn't get paid. We weren't under any kind of supervision. I turned my citations in directly to the clerk who ordered people to court. I had to go to court and testify and so forth. But money that would have gone to the county was being paid to constables in the form of fees from the citations or the work of the court. So what would you say about that as far as how things have changed now, going out of your district? I mean, purposely doing things like that to create a problem.
Each county is different. For example, where Steve works, there's 11 districts that you have. They have 11 constables. I'm in Wilson County. We have 25 districts, and I have 5 districts. We only have 5 constables in the county. So, I mean, this is something that you folks would set up. We work with the sheriff, we work with the local police, work with federal agents if they ask us to, and we work with commissioners in the county. Now, in our county, like you were saying, the sheriff draws the fees. It has a section within the sheriff's department. They really do nothing but get over there and go out and serve papers. So I don't serve papers. But now if an attorney or a person asks me to serve papers, I can do that. I'm more or less, I consider myself a set of eyes. In other words, if I'm in a grocery store and something goes on that I feel that I should step in, I will step in, but I've been trained to do that. Now, in our training, we tell a constable, if you have not been trained to do that, and this is different than it used to be years ago, we tell them it's better for you to just be quiet and be eyes, because when they leave, the police are going to need a good witness, and you can be that good witness. And just because you're carrying a gun doesn't mean you have the right to get over here and pull that gun out and wave it and scare people. You don't pull a gun out unless you're getting ready to use it. You don't use it unless you work the way we train you. We have training. Now, in Middle Tennessee, I'm on the board of directors. I work with Steve on that. In addition to having the normal 40 hours of training that we have, we also have every October, we have 40 hours, but we do it in Columbia. And then we have a yearly conference where we have training there, and the conference is free. We charge $100 a year because they give out a little card that identifies you as a member of the association. It gives you the free conference there. A lot of the folks, we like to have it around Pigeon Forge. They bring their families. It gives everybody a chance to come up. We hear about the problems that you have in different parts of the state. We try to work it out, but we always try to work it out in conjunction with the local council. Because even though we're just an elected official, not responsible to nobody, we have to be responsible for the folks that we serve.
So I'm gonna dovetail off on what Commissioner Hyde was asking, I guess. What, because we're limited on time here, so we're gonna have to speed it up. So, Sumner County got rid of constables because they were a problem. So that was 2010. And my question is, like, is there, you said that it's up to each county to set up what they do with their constables. So for example, question about citations and aggressive, just basically, policing for profits. I mean, let's be honest. So can a county say, hey, if you're gonna write tickets, you can't profit from it? I mean, what control does the county have on a constable on their ability to make profit or anything like that? So
The constable, there's two types of constables. There's two oaths that you take. One is as a law enforcement officer, and the other one is as
elected official
serving papers. Okay? Basically, is what it is. The constables more or less go along with what the county wants them to do.
So can the county prohibit a constable from writing
Well,
tickets?
I don't know that you can prohibit them.
Can the county prohibit a constable from profiting from writing tickets?
Well, if you're serving documents, okay, for the county, because the court would be the one that would send you, the state has set a fee for that. So we would get
$2.
Yes, that's what I was. That's what.
And for the fee,
$2
I hate
per
to say
ticket.
it, it's not worth going back to your house 3 times. You see where I'm coming from? So most guys aren't gonna do it. People are people. You're always gonna have somebody that's an idiot. I've served all over the United States as a law enforcement officer. I was an assistant attaché at the American Embassy in Mexico City, and I can tell you this, a lot of cops are wonderful people, and there's always a few that are screw-ups.
Yeah, and that's why we got rid of
But you
constables.
have a way to get rid of it. You got a district attorney who presents it to the local court, and the judge handles it, and you can pull his commission. You can stop that constable from being a constable without getting rid of all the rest of the ones that are doing good work. So you do have control, which is something a lot of folks, don't understand that.
But back to, if you don't mind, back to your question. A constable will get, if I write you a citation for speeding, for one, I better be certified on the radar, okay? Because otherwise, when it goes to court, it's gonna get kicked out most likely.
Can you have radar? You would have radar.
They're required to be radar certified if you're running radar.
We're
But you
talking
can-
over 40 years ago,
Right,
so we.
back before any of that. But if I write you a citation, I'm gonna get $2 off of it if you're found guilty in court. But the county's still gonna get the court fees. We only get the $2. So, just to
Not
give you
very
an
much
example.
profit. So.
I'm not making money on tickets. In the last 15 years, I may have wrote 5 tickets, but it was because it was a have-to case. But I have to buy that ticket book to write the tickets out of. The county don't furnish that. So really, today's world, it's a lot different than it was back then because you're not going to profit.
And let me
If
say,
you
I
wanna
didn't make any money. I donated my money back. Being
We
an
love honest
educator,
cops.
I've donated it to schools.
But I will tell you what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing this all across the state with our constables. You're seeing folks that are wanting to give back to their community. That's why they're wanting to do this.
Sure.
It's not to get out there and be Rambo and police and do all this and that. I want to get back to my community. You're seeing constables work ball games for extra security. You're seeing, I'm seeing constables, especially over in East Tennessee and some in West Tennessee, that are going to schools, that are working there as SROs, volunteering their time there, just to have extra eyes at the schools.
Commissioner Rogers?
Who provides you your post commissioner? Are they post certified?
They're not post certified, we just
So
offer.
where does the authority to write the tickets come from?
The statute is a state statute. We have the same authority as a police officer.
But do you have powers to arrest?
Yes.
We have full powers of arrest.
And where does that come from?
The state.
The state gives you that authority.
We were constitutional officers.
That's my
Until
point.
they had the, was it 78 when they had?
When they had the reform, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this on the back of my business card. Tennessee constables are officers of the Tennessee judicial system as prescribed by the state constitution. I'm waiting to get rid of these cards.
Can I have,
Yes.
Yeah, I love that one.
Who are sworn, bonded, we are bonded, peace officers with full powers of arrest, and there's the Tennessee code. And the thing of it is we're not out there trying to go out and be Rambos. If you have a constable who's a Rambo, I understand the problem that you folks had years ago.
Do we know the history of what happened? You remember, Mr. Hunt?
I think it was just like this constable, then he actually was from Westmoreland, that would come down to Hendersonville and write tickets, but yet he could go back and get elected there and things like that.
If I could say one more thing, and then I'll question if you want me to. Another thing that's changed under the state law, to be able to have this power, you also have to submit all your training. There's only 3 associations in the state of Tennessee that's recognized by law to certify you that you've completed your in-service training. One of them is Tennessee Constable Association, Tennessee Constable Council, which we are the same, and East Tennessee Constable Association. That's in state law, that you must, to be able to have your police powers.
Is that
you
new
have-
from 2010?
That's, oh yeah, it's been since then, yeah. And then.
We're
just
working
to-
right now to get over there and get
Our
128
association
hours of
issues
training
these to
for all
all
new constables.
constables that have completed all of their
Because
training.
that covers the same amount of training that you have for special deputies. So we're doing what we can.
Mr. Klein?
Who determines how many you have in a county, and what would be your recommendation?
County commissioners.
The county commissioners.
See, you folks control in that sense.
Yeah.
And then if you have a problem, like you folks had years ago when you cut it out, you know, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You take, if you have a deputy, for example, here, and he does something wrong, you don't shut down the sheriff's department. What you do is you get rid of that deputy. And you can do the same thing with that constable. All you've got to do is contact Ray Whitley, he'll take it before the judge, and the judge can get over there and wipe him out.
And just like I offered in another county just recently, we were meeting, if you don't,
Yeah,
I was just,
and then I'll let
yeah,
you
and
know
we
that.
gotta get rolling. So I have one question here, but.
If you bring these constables back to Sumner County, one of the things as an association that we can offer, we'll work with these constables, but every year we can email the county mayor, the election commission, and even the DA. Here's a list of the constables that have completed their in-service training that are abiding by the laws of the state of Tennessee.
And here's the courses they took.
I do want to let Chris, who actually came and brought this to me.
Of course, I have 2 questions before you jump in. It's about that, but whichever
I'll be
one
glad
you're
to
going to
stay.
go with, Mr. Chairman, I'm good with.
Can you, what are your questions?
So my only 2 questions are, I'm just a little unclear on one thing. Where you make the bulk of the money?
None. We
Like-
don't make money.
So there's
We
not.
don't make money.
Don't you get money from like?
Send citations
If you,
or,
say you own rental
I don't
property.
mean citations, I'm sorry, I mean
Okay.
warrants.
Say you own rental property, and you go take out a detainer warrant to keep them out of your house. Okay, that's $42 is what we get. I think it just changed.
And in most
But
places.
that's not costing the county, that's costing the
That-
property owner.
That answers my question. It really is about service. I
Yeah.
get that. Okay, and then my other question, thank you for that. But my other question is, how long are the terms, like, for is it a 4-year term?
4-year term.
And is it coincide with commission and sheriff and that kind of thing?
Well, we got 2 years, what is it, 2 years to go?
Yeah.
Ours is the same as the.
County commission would determine that.
Yeah.
Got it.
the
Every county
commission.
controls how they do it.
Okay.
Chris,
That's
real
really
quick,
okay.
because you're a former law enforcement officer.
No, sir. My thing was I wanted to directly answer your question of if somebody could come down into the thing and just write for profit. And I knew that they had changed it to where the officer was only gonna make $2. And so that was my thing, this is about service, it's not about profit. You can't make any money out of it. The commission themselves have taken the money out of it. You know, the association, not.
One of the things you have to understand is constables work for a living, jobs outside of what we're doing. I can't afford, well, I can now because I'm retired, but I'm talking about, normally I couldn't afford to get over here and take my day job and go spend 4 hours in court, wait my turn to get over here and get somebody a ticket. So I'm gonna think twice before I go give somebody a ticket. If you've got somebody who's going out here giving ticket, I would suggest that someone had a long conversation with them. Because they're playing games, that's not what we're here for. We're here to help. The sheriff has got deputies out there, very well trained, they have their own gas, and they have a marked car, and they can do whatever they want. And they're constantly doing this here.
Real quick, anybody else got a question right now? Here's what I guess I would like to see or recommend, Chris, since you reached out to myself and Commissioner Rogers and you guys, is like, I'd love to just put this on old business for next month and just, because I didn't invite our Chief Deputy Craddock to come tonight. We gave him a heads up. I was going to give Sheriff Weatherford a heads up to his unfortunate passing. Kind of the timing of this was kind of crazy since you guys reached out. And
We'd love to come.
So Chief Deputy Craddock wasn't able to come tonight. I just gave him a heads up. Hey, they're asking and he gave you guys a platform. But I would love to know what was bad back in 2010. If you guys could provide me a document or an email, just like, hey, here's what was happening that was screwed back in 2010 when Sumner County got rid of constables. Here's how the laws have changed to put corrections in place and buffers in place to correct those things, that the reason the county commission got rid of constables. I would love to see that in writing. If that's possible, you could supply it to this committee and we could get it back for next month, just so they can see in writing, like, what's the difference before this committee makes a vote something up or down, and just so we don't save money. So.
Can I say one thing? I did also today reach out to the Attorney General and to Mr. Craddock himself and spoke with him, and I tried to, I left a message for the mayor, the county mayor too, to tell them, to give them the heads up of what we were going on and what we were talking about, and just give them, show respect that I wasn't trying to do anything like this behind their back.
Sure.
Give them a heads up, and just, if they had any questions, to talk about it then.
Sure.
So, I did talk to him directly today.
Great. I'm going to bring this back in session if we're good with that. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And if you guys could get that to me, it'd be great.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
make a motion let's move this back to old business. That's okay. And just so we can have a report emailed back out to the committee for September and more information. So,
Second.
all right. So I guess we don't need a motion, but all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Shackle Island VFD lease. My understanding this was kicked back from Shackle Island, and Mr. Law Director, I think you had some concerns about this. Would you mind going through this?
It went through, I believe, Mr. Rogers' committee, and they agreed to push this through the legislative with a positive recommendation, I believe. What had happened is I'm not even sure how it got back here. I just got it secondhand, but there was a notation on page 2 of the contract.
Under
And
improvements and repairs.
It speaks to itself, their notation. But this could easily bankrupt us. I drafted this with the commission's interest prevailing in this because it's the county's property, and this is a standard term that's in leases that are property that are rented, albeit this is, I believe, $1 a year. And my recommendation was that it stay in there. I believe a lot of the issues that they have or concerns that they have are already being fulfilled by the county as far as repairs and things of that nature. But my recommendation was to leave it in there. They execute it or not execute it.
So this didn't go back to health emergency, came back basically here for last month?
It went to us.
Okay, then you put it on.
Yes.
So for health and emergency, I guess when you guys, or general ops, whatever, this went through with both committees, I guess, was there any problems with of keeping this in there and saying, hey, because I know the county pays for everything. All they do is pay for their own utilities, like electric and water, is my understanding. Is that right, Mr. Cunningham?
That's correct, but if you execute this lease, then we don't do any repairs. this lease says that the tenant does the repairs, not the county, not the owner.
The owner of the property can do whatever they choose to do. This is to protect should something happen that's unexpected and unanticipated. And this would be a standard lease, I would suggest, for any county property that's gonna be rented to anybody. So that's my position now. It's up to the committee and the commission. If you want it removed, I'll do whatever the will of the commission is, but it's, my recommendation is to leave it in there.
I know that the county, well, I know that, I believe, it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that I think there were some plumbing issues at that building, and I think Shackle Island fixed it themselves. The county did not fix those at that facility after it was built. I don't know what else we have done. I know we've done like gravel and stuff from the highway department out there. I don't know of any major repairs, to my knowledge, that have taken on. I think they've taken on a lot of stuff themselves, but Commissioner Rogers.
It says here that if the tenant refuses or neglects to make any necessary repairs, the landlord
Has the
shall
right.
have the right to make such repairs on behalf of the tenant. So, I mean.
It does also say such events, such work shall be paid for tenant as an additional rental within 10 days of receipt of the bill. I guess if we chose to.
So we
give
can
bills.
reimburse them if it's a toilet broke.
Or we don't charge them. I mean, we just do it. 'cause
It's yours to enforce or not enforce is my point.
I think it's.
I think we should leave it in there and let it, I mean, it's.
Well, it seems, it
Our-
covers both bases.
Well,
Go ahead, he's still.
Our EMS lives there, and it helps cover them. It's a county building, so my motion is leave it in there at the director of the law.
Second. Commissioner Teague.
I'm good with that, but I think that it was just misread, but whoever just read that.
I'm for Portland, it might have been.
Cause it said the landlord shall have the right to make such, I mean, it says landlord shall have the right to make such repairs, like if there's something's wrong, or perform such maintenance on behalf of, for the account of tenant. So, okay, if you stop there,
behalf of.
it sounds great if you stop there, but for
But
the
it don't.
tenant,
It's and,
it
comma.
says, and in such event, such work shall be paid for by tenant as additional rental within 10 days of receipt of a bill therefore. So I'm good with that, but I just want to make sure that we know that is protecting the landlord over the tenant, which I like.
That's if the tenant refuses to make the repairs. Go back up.
And you send them a bill.
Right.
Yes.
So
But
we
I'm
can
saying-
fix
but I'm
it
saying-
as good landlords like we've always done.
Absolutely.
And not send
but-
him a bill.
And not send them a bill.
Yes, okay.
Let's don't overcomplicate it.
I agree with that. I just want to make sure that we were on the same page because we are able to force them to pay it as part of the lease if it's deemed necessary. Correct?
How much stuff do we do in this county on the gentleman's handshake?
I know.
Let's don't overcomplicate the lease
Yeah.
agreement.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to make sure that was clear to the
Just
folks who
saying.
are listening at home. So,
So is it just to recap, Mr. Law Director, based on our understanding, Commissioner Rogers' motion, that we have the right to make repairs, obviously, or, I mean, we can bill the tenant or not, but that's up to the county's discretion whether they're gonna do it. Obviously, major repairs, not gonna do it, probably more than likely, because we also have an EMS station there, where it's a county building.
Yeah.
They don't own the building, they're just basically, I think, just agreeing to pay for like their water and electric. And I think the county even, well, at one point, the county was supposed to be reimbursing them for the water and electric that the EMS was paying. And I don't know if that was ever happening. I think the volunteer fire department was actually paying for the county EMS to be there with the bill, so.
My ultimate point in all of this is to protect the landlord, which I've been retained to draft on behalf of the landlord. The landlord always has the discretion to enforce the provision or not enforce the provision. That happens all the time. So that's why I'm sticking with my recommendation to leave it in there. If y'all choose not to enforce it, then that's entirely fine.
You've got a motion and a second, legal.
Any other?
landlords
any other
are
discussion?
ultimately these folks.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Milledgeville EMS MOU, a little background on this. There was questions saying we don't own the building, we can't go to it, so I just simply, Chairman Hyde last month asked me to go to Milledgeville and say, hey, can we fix the building? And I did. They sent back an agreement, our law director looked at it, changed, I think, 2 things, sent it back to them, and they said, great, it works for us. And just
This is just for us to approve so that we can go ahead and start doing exploratory this is basically Millville saying, yes, you have permission to do whatever you need to on our building because your EMS is there. We're not gonna stop you, so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Item G, resolution, judicial magistrate appointment, Robert Fitzgerald, motion by Commissioner Rogers,
Second.
second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? H, resolution, requalification for State of Tennessee 3-star program. Mr. Law Director, do you have any comments on this or concerns or?
I have no input to provide on this one.
So moved.
All right.
This is like our third
You
year.
have a
in
second?
row, right?
Or-
I'll have a second with discussion.
Okay, good. Mr. Klein, Clay Q.
I've read this 3 times and I'm not sure what it is. Is this a letter of credit that states our fiscal responsibility? What is this?
Mr. County Mayor.
It's just a requirement of the state for the requalification program, showing our fiscal strength. That's all it is.
So it is kind of a credit
Yeah.
score.
Well, in a sense, I guess you could call it a credit score.
Requalification of what?
Every year, we requalify for the 3-star program that's offered by the state. And if you qualify as a 3-star county, you get discounts, for lack of a better word, better rates on the CBDG grants and other grants offered by the state. The cities get those discounts as well.
Oh, okay.
It's a good thing to have.
It's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a while. I mean, I remember this in your previous commission.
1980.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, so.
I just hate voting for things I don't know.
You
Yeah,
can,
I
you can
read it,
Google it,
same way.
and Portland used 3-star grant to upgrade their
Okay.
historic downtown.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, goes to full commission. Resolution gifting Sheriff
So moved.
Weatherford service weapon to Tammy Weatherford. Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Bergdorf, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Item J, Commissioner Hyde wanted to talk about public building authority.
This is not complicated tonight. I would just like for the chairman to appoint, and I'd like to be one of them, a committee to investigate Sumner County being a part of the state statute that allows you to have a public building authority. And with the public building authority, you can be in charge with a group of people of construction and supervision and management of your building program for schools, jails, libraries, everything. Now, we've had some problems in the county over the many years that I've been involved with school buildings, other constructions. The building authority, as I understand it, allows people like the Board of Education to outline what they would like to have within their school that's being built. They do the design and so forth. But at least there would be an authority to enlighten everyone else as to what is in this building, rather than getting a $100 million high school, as a surprise. We would know what was occurring. The Board of Education would still be in charge. As a matter of fact, if you read the code having to do with public building authority, it states that no one should be misunderstanding this act, that it's really intended to be liberal in having good buildings within the county. It's just structured to where there's more knowledge about what's going on and people in charge to see that the same quality that is being done here is being done over here. So there, as I understand it, and the lawyer may know better than I do, there are 2 avenues you can go with a public building authority. And I would just like to have maybe a 3-man, 4-man, or 5-man committee, Mr. Chairman, appointed by you as an ad hoc committee to investigate and bring back a recommendation or not of a public building authority.
If you don't mind, you had asked me to look at in this about half a year ago, and I did respond. I do want to kind of just go over some of my notes after looking into this. I know you wanted to offer sort of preemptive awareness with like new school construction, new needs, so that stakeholders, meaning the taxpayers and us as commissioners, aren't surprised with facilities like Liberty Creek that are definitely out of scope and magnitude compared to other facilities. And so after looking into the code and running this by, some of the things I didn't feel at the time and it really aligned with your expectations. So one of the things is the Board of Education could express a desire for a particular building or facility without our influence. And if you did go to a public building authority, it would merely grant that public building authority advanced information without altering the school board's decision-making power. So you still don't have any power or control or influence over what the school board proposes. You just get a little bit more of a heads up. I remember some of my points back to you at the time after looking into this. Personally, I can't support this or recommend this or would be voting against it for several points. County commissioners cannot serve on this building authority. It takes away the commission's authority they have over all buildings in the county. Like, we don't have any authority over we abdicate that statutory authority over buildings. The county mayor would appoint all the members, and it would almost be like White House Utility District or Hendersonville Utility District, where that board is an unelected board of bureaucrats that is not directly accountable to the taxpayers. So I could not agree with that plan personally, because I've looked into that, and I think that the statutes and the consequential outcomes of a public building authority would diminish the commission's authority over county buildings to execute lease and designate property and all the things that we've kind of struggled with a little bit here. That just goes away, and we abdicate that authority. But respectfully, I would have to vote against doing that, and I'm not inclined to do a ad hoc for those reasons personally. But I mean,
and
I take a vote.
I appreciate your comments, and it may be the will of this committee to not follow through. That's why I said I wanted a committee to look at it and study it, and this is not a bringing back a definite recommendation at this time. There are several counties in the state of Tennessee that have a very efficient building system, including the schools, because it's hard for the schools to go under a radar if the rest of the county is doing building through the building authority. But one such example is Madison County in West Tennessee, but there's several places where this has been very, very effective. It may not be for us. I've read through both acts like you have, and I realize the negatives, but I would like to see and talk with some of these other counties, this committee, with people and just see what they say the pluses and minuses of it would be, rather than our forming an opinion here without really looking at it. So I still would like to have a committee to look at it and bring back, which may be, hey, let's forget this.
Do I have a motion to form an ad hoc committee?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Klein. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second by Commissioner Rogers. Is there a discussion on the formation of an ad hoc commission?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything so scary we can't talk about it, so I would be willing to volunteer for that ad hoc.
Well, let's dispose of creating an ad hoc. Okay. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm going to be opposed on that one. All right, so for the ad hoc, Commissioner Hyde, obviously you want to be on it. Commissioner Klein, I think a 3-person is good. Is anybody from the, I'll volunteer to be on it, I guess. Okay. So that'll be myself, Commissioner Klein, and Commissioner Hyde. Everybody's name of one of that, so that'll be my appointment for that committee, ad hoc.
Do we need a motion second for that?
No,
Okay, got it.
because that passed.
I like that.
So yeah, all right. Well, we will, I guess, set a time and get together and try to figure out a time to meet and do that. All right, sounds good. All right, that passes. Commission recognition and proclamation. Motion to vote and group and approved by Commissioner Rogers. Second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries. Zoning, the Lewis Head Commercial Plaza and PUD Major Plan Amendment Number 2 that we had citizens all come and speak tonight. This is just for docketing purposes, obviously for the first this month. It'll come to this committee again in September. I do know that it does have a negative recommendation from the Planning Commission, and I was given this packet at our last commission meeting, and I don't, you all should still have it, but I did bring this. And I think
Emailed it to us.
And emailed us as well. You can't have this or no, but.
No, Mr. Chairman, I was just gonna say, before we move on and approve something else, this is, it's
It's our
not
last item.
anything different. But, I noticed that middle college is not included on that list, and I just didn't know if we could maybe make sure they're included. I know they have a valedictorian, correct? It's like, I just feel like that would be wrong to leave them out accidentally.
Talking
And
about
I know we
State
kinda,
Middle
I know we
College?
just voted on it, but, the middle college is, like, you can have that as a high school here, so I don't know if that's something. Will you look into that?
Do you know who presented this? I don't know who presented this.
Dr. Langford gave me the list.
Okay, well,
at Mr.
We
Hyde's
were gonna do this
request.
back in June, weren't we? And it got deferred, or I think it was in June, is that my mistaken? Yeah, and we pulled it off, at the time.
Sorry, I just didn't.
I don't know, I can't answer that question for you, Jamie.
I just went off of what was provided by Dr. Langford.
I mean, it's not on there,
No
so,
problem.
I mean, unless you, I don't know what middle
I
college is.
don't know anybody there, I just
Okay.
know it's a school here, so.
I work at Fall State, I'll be happy to reach out to the principal there.
Just maybe make sure.
Yeah.
Well, is there a motion to reconsider and can bring that back, or we?
So I'll, if I can amend my motion, or actually, I guess it would be a
Motion.
motion to reconsider.
All right,
I'll
get a
second
motion,
that.
second,
And
all in
then-
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
All
we're
right, so
back
my
to.
motion to reconsider would be to include middle college if applicable.
Yes. Second.
All right, got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Back to Lewis Head Commercial Plaza, PUD, major plan amendment number 2. This did receive a negative recommendation from our planning commission. Was that unanimous? Mr. Chairman Hyde, you're the chairman of the planning commission. Do you know if that Lewis Head was a unanimous negative, or is there any positives?
I don't remember if it was unanimous, but because of the neighbor opposition, the planning commission tends to listen hard to the neighbors.
Well, this is like the third negative recommendation for this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've attempted
He's moved on through that.
several different projects.
Okay.
Lewis Head wants to use his property, and I don't think there's a limit to what he can submit. And so he has tried several different things. And honestly, the big problem is the water flow. I don't know how to remedy that. The remedy that the civil engineer has proposed is a pond, like
You know,
everywhere else.
I don't have to go into detail, I'm okay.
Okay.
It's a negative recommendation, it's here for docketing, citizens come speak, obviously, on the record. We know they've been able to express their opposition to this. They'll have to be able to come next month, and then, as well, both in this committee and to the commission in September.
Yeah.
So, there's nothing to do on that, and I got one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
You got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, gents and ladies.
I'm learning.
Yes, budget.
Oh, it is? That I know.
Yes.
You notice that stain?
I mean, for certain kids, it's gained in popularity.
Anything to get away from your parents, huh?
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going, I'm going there.